NFL Live. We are, believe it or not, a week away from the NFL Draft. Jason McCourty is in the house. Mina Kimes is here as well. Others joining in a bit, but we want to get right to the drama in New York, where Giants All-Pro defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence requested a trade last week. And listen to this from his teammate Brian Burns, who told the New York Post yesterday, and I quote, "Speaking for me, the Giants ain't the Giants without number 97 in the middle." So we are going to figure that out to keep him here regardless, I hope. That's my boy. I don't want to play this season or any other season without him. Okay, so J-Mac, Mina, let's weigh in on this. I think it's so interesting because Burns had 16 and a half sacks last season, right? And so, and I see that Chase is with us as well. Hey, there you go. Good to have you with us, Chase.
We're good.
All right. So, you know, we have people joining the party gradually here. We have Brian Burns, who has 16 and a half sacks. We know that Sexy Dexy only had half a sack. And so obviously, you know, that's something that might play into the negotiations. But essentially what Burns is saying, right, is he wouldn't have had the year he had without his pal there.
Absolutely. Dexter Lawrence probably is double teamed more than anybody in the NFL, with people trying to not allow him to get to the quarterback at that interior position. But when you're as good as he is, the expectation is extremely high. So when the numbers are down for the Giants, they're going to look at that and they're going to use it as a negotiation tactic. They don't want to give him a ton more money coming off the season that he came off of. I think the question the Giants have to ask themselves is, do we believe Dexter Lawrence is going to get back to an elite all-pro level? And I would say absolutely. And with that in mind, you have to figure out a way to get him more money, because it's going to help the guys around him, to where Brian Burns is saying, and Dexter Lawrence getting those 8-9 sacks a season, which I think he's going to get back to, and stopping the run, something the Giants struggled with last year. They absolutely need 97 on that team.
Yeah, he's an absolute interior wrecking ball. I mean, the dude is massive, Sexy Dexy, as everyone likes to call him. Not only are you going to lose his production on the field, right? Like you were saying, double teamed. We had this rule, J-Mac, and I'm sure you heard of it. It's called the Aaron Donald rule. And every time we were in production meetings or in meetings with Sean Payton and Andy Reid, in protection meetings, you would go up there and you'd be like, hey, we have to slide the offensive line to a 3-tech. And I'm telling you, the only time we ever did it was for Aaron Donald. So that opens up Brian Burns, like he said, on the side. I mean, Brian Burns was saying, hey, the Giants ain't the Giants without 97 in the middle. And I would agree. And so when you have an interior plug like that, it's just so hard to lose, because it opens up everyone else to get theirs. And I've been in these meetings with the Aaron Donald plan, and it just completely ruins. Like, I don't even care if you're blitzing. Like, you're going to have the running back step up in protection and block him and just say, hey, we'd rather get 4 hands or 2 guys on Dexter Lawrence. This is the type of player he is. So I really do hope he stays there, because he is a very, very important part and piece of that Giants organization.
Yeah, but they say that these negotiations are at an impasse. So, Mina, who should be on the phone calling the Giants?
I mean, over half the NFL, quite frankly. You know, I could throw out a bunch of teams, the Bears, the Vikings, the Texans. But for me, the one that makes the most sense in terms of need, timeline, resources, is the LA Chargers. You guys talked about what he does, his importance on that defensive line. Perfect fit there, 3-4, playing the nose. The double teams, even last year in a down year in terms of pass rush production, he was still the second most double-teamed player in football, over 71% of the time, according to ESPN's tracking. And that's all the more remarkable when you consider the edge rushers they had in New York, right? But offensive lines were so concerned about Dexter Lawrence. Obviously, that would open up opportunities for Tuli Tuipulotu and Khalil Mack, who came back. The other thing, though, is timeline and money. Money-wise, the Chargers, they still have a ton of cap space this year, the third. They are top 5 in cap space next year. So if he wants a new contract, they can get it done. And timeline-wise, they need to get over the hump in the playoffs. To me, he would be an instantly impactful and important piece in that regard. So if I'm the Chargers, I really aggressively make a play.
And Mina, speaking of timelines, with the draft is literally a week away, so you've got to replace that piece, right? If you don't plan on having Dexter Lawrence there, how does this affect the Giants draft in your estimation?
And that'll be something they have to figure out, whether a Dexter Lawrence trade, if it is going to happen, that may not happen until after the draft. So they may not be going in with the thought of right away replacing a guy like Dexter Lawrence, not knowing that scenario. You think about it for them with that 5th pick. What happens with Jeremiah Love? Is he still in play?
Sure.
I look at it, I'm a defensive guy. So guys like Caleb Downs, like Sonny Styles, like those are the type of players that I'm saying, hey, if I'm John Harbaugh, I want to bring somebody in right now that's going to set the tone and tempo for my football team. And on the defensive side of the ball, getting either of those two guys are like a quarterback of the defense, which is going to go a long way.
Wait. If Love is on the board, you're saying pass him up for Styles or Downs, right? If Love is sitting there.
I love the defense side of the ball.
All right.
So, hey, give me either one of those guys from Ohio State, and I'm all good.
Okay, Chase, what do you think?
Well, I mean, look, spoken like a true defensive guy, I'm
Exactly.
with you. And these guys are really good, Caleb Downs, Sonny Styles. But if Carnell Tate, guys, just hear me out. If Carnell Tate is there at 5 and Jeremiah Love goes, say, above to the Cardinals or the Titans, that's who I'm picking. Like, I was with Matt Nagy in a quarterback room as an offensive coordinator, as a head coach. His offense relies on these big, tall, acrobatic type receivers that are lanky, but like can go up and get the ball. And you're talking opposite of Malik Neighbors, and you want to make this whole offense about your quarterback. Like Jackson Dart with Cam Scatterboom, Malik Neighbors, Carnell Tate, to me, that makes a whole lot of sense, not only from his ability to go down the field, but his ability to work in the slot. He's still raw, and Matt Nagy loves to draw up plays that can move him everywhere, and I think this is something that he could do. So I like the defensive draft, and I can see that with Harbaugh, but if you want the best for your quarterback, I'm going Carnell Tate.
That's a really hard decision you guys have left me with, because you could really see the case for both. I also love that fit for Tate and for what I think Jackson Dart is going to be asked to do in his skill set in terms of pushing the ball downfield. I love how he complements Malik Neighbors. But I might actually lean Styles, which is wild, by the way, for me, because positional value, the receiver, you can get a lot more value there financially, opportunity cost. I just think it's a little bit more likely they can get an impactful receiver later in the draft after getting through this whole class. The delta between Sonny Styles and the rest of the linebackers and the impact that he could have as a force multiplier in the middle of that defense, a defense, by the way, that was absolutely abysmal against the run last year, that would be really, really helpful. Mina,
would you take him over Love if Love's there?
Oh, yeah, I would take both over Love.
Okay.
I would take both Tate and Styles over Love.
All right, this is going to be really fun, really interesting. And it is, Mina says, it's a very deep receiver draft, right? So it might be a little rich to grab a receiver that early, no matter how good. All right, let's talk about getting some help. Titans GM Mike Borgonzi spoke today about some offensive help for Cam Ward. Here's what he had to say.
I think you're always looking to support the quarterback, and certainly protection is one. Getting them playmakers is another thing. It's a deep receiving class, and I think the top end is really good. I feel good about the options that we have up there in day 1 and even 2 and 3. I think there's some really good options here.
All right, so the Titans have gotten some key pieces the last few seasons. Listen, they drafted offensive tackles in the first round in 23 and 24. Obviously, they followed that up with Cam Ward last year, first overall. They're looking to improve under Brian Daboll. They ranked in the bottom 3 in points per game and yards per game this season. All right, I know I'm sitting on the set with a defensive guy here, but should they go offense? Should they go Jeremiah Lawrence? Come on, man. Come on, J-Man.
My Titans have needs. They have a lot of needs that go on along that roster. And when you talk about how to help your quarterback, their biggest need is probably an edge rusher, which would help the quarterback, a guy that gets after the quarterback. Slow down, Chase. I'm not done. Let me finish what I'm saying.
Come on.
The situation that they could potentially see themselves in. Now, if Arvell Reese or David Bailey falls to them at 4, they should run to the podium and select either one of those guys.
Yeah.
But assuming both of them are gone, Go ahead and get Jeremiah Love. Why not do it? Go ahead and get a dynamic player,
There we
put
go.
him in your locker room, and see what he can become. I don't think this is the same situation we saw a year ago with Ashton Genty, where we just looked at the Titans, the two offensive linemen they drafted. Now, Skoronski's playing guard. Latham has been moved over to the right side, but they could re-sign Kevin Zeitler. So they have a guy in Tony Pollard that's rushed for 1,000 yards, but it's still a little bit different with a guy like Jeremiah Love.
There we go. Now we're talking, J-Mac. That's what I'm talking about. I love this pick. I love Jeremiah Love going to the Tennessee Titans. Can you imagine how much fun Brian Daboll is going to have with him in this offense? To me, I don't think there's a better fit. I mean, you have a 4.36 speed. He can run through contact. He's a true three-down back. And look, guys, I know this gets thrown around a lot, but I do see a lot of Alvin Kamara in Love. And I was there with Alvin Kamara in 2017 when he was drafted. I was playing on the field with him in preseason games, and just to see that speed and that contact balance with halfback options and halfback choices out of the backfield, it just makes your quarterback, and me specifically when I was playing, feel really good. Like you're like, hey, what are we going to call on 3rd and 7 when they're playing men? Well, I like Jeremiah Love matched up on the linebacker out of the backfield. He can split out wide. He can run inside zone, outside zone, gap scheme, all this stuff. And look, Mina talked about positional value. I get that. But when I think, and people think that he is the best player all around in the draft, and you need to help Cam Ward specifically throwing the football and protecting, why not go out and get Jeremiah Love? I love this pick.
I can see Mina's face already.
I know, because they have a lot of needs.
I can feel it coming.
No, come on, Mina.
Yeah,
What's
me
the
too.
best way for them to maximize that early pick and address some of their needs?
I mean, if Jeremiah Love, if he ends up in Nashville, I hope he likes two things: hot chicken and stacked boxes, because he's going to face so many stacked boxes with that receiver group, y'all. I mean, look at the depth chart, not just receiver, tight end, too. They have so many needs. I actually think the dream for Tennessee is to trade down. I know that's easy to say. You have to find a partner. But because there are so many needs, if they can convince a team to jump New York, maybe for one of the players we talked about earlier, that to me is the ideal outcome. My second choice would be to take one of Arvell Reese or David Bailey there, as J-Mac talked about. That's just such a glaring area of need for them. But yeah, if they're in the position where there's no trade and the edge rusher is gone, I do suppose it is defensible, but I don't know. I wouldn't like it the best for Jeremiah Love either, versus a team like Washington, where the offensive line is in better condition than it is in Tennessee at the moment.
Oh, good point there. Oh, man. If you look at the Titans' offense, their leading receiver had just over 500 yards last year. Yeah, they need a lot on both sides of the ball. And we got a lot to talk about. We're just getting started on NFL Live. After Mike Evans' departure, does Tampa need an elite? Right, him and his wife. That's so cool. And Mel Kiper Jr. hasn't gone to the Bucs. They had lost Mike Evans, as you know. With Evans hurt last year, Mecca Egbuka had a solid rookie season. Although it was a little bit up and down, that catch rate was under 50%. No other wide receiver on the team, by the way, had more than 400 yards last season. And here's what their GM, Jason Light, had to say about replacing a guy the caliber of Evans.
The true X like Mike, those guys are few and far between. We really do like our receiver room. I think they're going to step up this year, and I think all of them are going to have good years. So I know they're very excited. But, you know, that's a position that we know the importance of that position, and this is a pretty good receiver group this year. And at some point, it wouldn't be shocking if we did take a shot.
Well, Mel Kiper has them going with a pass catcher in the first round, not a receiver, tight end Kenyon Sadiq from Oregon, and then following that up with the guy we just saw, Texas Tech linebacker Jacob Rodriguez in round 2. J-Mac, do you like them going in that direction? Again, we're talking about a team with some needs.
Yeah, the Rodriguez part of it, I think, when you watch Levante David, who will be up there in the Ring of Honor one day, walk out the door with his retirement press conference, if you can usher in the next era of that middle linebacker spot, a guy that can get downhill but also drop back in zone and be able to take the ball away, that would be a nice addition. It's hard to say anything negative about Kenyon Sadiq. His ability to be able to get the ball, catch and run situation, short pass, take it to distance, be able to split out as a pass catcher. When you're trying to replace Mike Evans, you heard Jason Light say, there's not many wide receivers out there that you can line up with that type of size and ability. But Sadiq as a tight end is one of those guys that can do so. 6'4", running a 4.3. He is a mismatch nightmare for a lot of DBs or linebackers trying to cover him. My only concern would be they need help at the edge rush, getting after the quarterback. So passing on that early on to go for more of a luxury type pick would be a little bit of a concern for me.
Yeah, in a deep tight end draft. Mina, what do you think?
Yeah, Sadiq versus Mesidor is a great debate for Tampa. I share Jason's enthusiasm for Sadiq. I think that's an offense with Baker Mayfield where you want to run a lot of play action. And to me, he is like the perfect play action tight end. He is a functional blocker. You can imagine them using a lot of 12 personnel with him and Otten and him stretching the seams for Baker Mayfield. But the pass rush in Tampa has just been a problem now, really since their Super Bowl, right? Yaya Diaby's a nice player, but he needs a running mate. And if they were to get Akeem Mesidor out of Miami there, he's a pro-ready prospect. He might be the most polished pass rusher in the draft in terms of his moves that he already has at his disposal, the swim, the swipe, the chop. You know, the ding on him isn't his ability, it's his age, but the Bucs need someone to come in and rush the quarterback immediately, so I actually think that timeline would make sense for the player.
All right, that makes a lot of sense. Meanwhile, on NFL Live, here's Commanders GM Adam Peters.
You want to try to find a person that, you know, impacts your team. And when you're picking in the top 10, you know, find someone that impacts your team, you know, right away and then for the long run. And, you know, defensively specifically, that could be anywhere on the field. And there's a lot of guys in you know, that will possibly be there in different levels of the defense, you know, really every position, quite frankly, that can really impact us in a real positive way.
Let's talk about Jaden Daniels. He had one of those sophomore slumps. It seems like that's kind of a signature thing. Obviously, a lot of that was related to injury, whether his own or his teammates, but they had ranked top 6 in the NFL in total QBR and completion percentage in 2024. He won fewer than 10 games last season, below the league average in most major stats. All right, fellas. So helping Jaden Daniels, that's got to be a priority, Chase. What wideout do you think best fits the Commanders at 7?
Well, because Carnell Tate's going 5 to the Giants, I'm going to go with another receiver, Mekhi Lemon. Look, I was rewatching his Iowa game for USC, and I'm telling you, when I watch this guy go out there and play, he's a running back with a linebacker temperament. I mean, the dude is not afraid of getting his head dirty, blocking, and plays so much bigger than his size. I just think he's a complete mismatch against nickels and linebackers and safeties. And in today's NFL, you know it, J-Mac, you're playing so much too high safety look. Give me a slot guy that is good with the ball in his hands. And that's exactly what new Commanders offensive coordinator David Blau is going to do. He's going to be a mix between Ben Johnson and Cliff Kingsbury. He wants to get the ball out of Jaden Daniels' hands and into playmakers' hands. He's going to put Jaden Daniels under center. He's going to unlock him mentally. There's going to be a lot more at the plate for him to go after. So a guy like Mekhi Lemon, along with Scary Terry, to me, now we're talking. But Mekhi Lemon is one of my favorite receivers in the entire draft.
But you know what J-Mac likes to say, Chase, that it's a defensive piece that can help the quarterback,
Always.
right?
You guys watched the Super Bowl. You saw a dominant defense out there. If Jaden Daniels doesn't feel like he has to put up 30 points, he's in a better place. And how can you do that? Well, watch what the Commanders have done this offseason. They went out and got pass rushers. Oweh, bringing him in, Chason, Omenahu, all of these guys that can help get after the quarterback. Well, now on the back end, can you bring somebody in, maybe a Caleb Downs at that number 7 pick that can come back there in the safety group and get the corners? They brought in a Mick Robertson, which you just saw on the screen, but Downs is a guy that can play all over the field. He can be in the deep part, be able to read the quarterback and get off and go take the ball out of the air. He can move closer to the line of scrimmage. The things that he was asked to do at Ohio State gives him the ability to walk in pro-ready to play in any defense and do whatever's asked of him. So I think he would be perfect in that spot to get in there and be able to get after the quarterback and really set up that defense.
Yeah, and they allowed the 3rd most passing touchdowns last year. And everything you hear about him, too, he's a great culture guy.
Yes.
Like an immediate locker room impact guy, too. Yeah. All right. We're just getting started.
And nice to be with you finally. And yes, Dexter Lawrence with the New York Giants is in a dispute right now. It's not even as if he is willing to talk about a contract. He flat out wants to be traded. He wants to be dealt to another team. The Giants are going to hold out and ask for a lot in return. There's a window here in the next week to try to work out a deal for Dexter Lawrence. We'll see if the Giants can move on from him and get value in return. Meanwhile, Devon Achane, the Dolphins standout running back, after not showing up for the first part of the voluntary offseason workout program over the last 10 or so days, reported today to the team in what is thought to be a goodwill gesture as the two sides continue discussing a new contract extension for Achane. He's hoping that by being there today, it can have a positive effect on talks. Meanwhile, tomorrow is the deadline for another team to sign the restricted free agent kicker, Brandon Aubrey, to a new deal. No offer sheet has materialized all throughout the offseason. It's not likely that one will materialize by 4 p.m. Eastern on Friday, which means Aubrey looks like he's destined to be kicking once again for Dallas this season as the two sides will discuss a long-term deal. And meanwhile, a lot of speculation that the New York Jets will draft David Bailey with the second overall pick, but they recently canceled a visit with him before he could come visit the Jets. The Jets felt like they had all the information they needed. Does that mean that they are strongly considering taking him? Does that mean that they're on to Arvell Reese? Not sure exactly what it means, but they did cancel the visit they had planned with the edge rusher David Bailey. He no longer is visiting the team up close and personal.
It's just so funny, all the things people say and do in the lead up to the draft. We'll see if it actually means anything. All right, now let's talk to the pass catchers, or let's talk about them. Here is who Mel Kiper Jr. has going in the first round from that position group, and he has 6 total. As you can see, Carnell Tate, first one off the board to the Commanders at 7, followed a couple of picks later by the Chiefs taking Jordan Tyson. You can imagine him there in KC. Yeah. Despite having Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams, he also has the Rams going for Mekhi Lemon at number 13. So who to know these guys better than the poor guy who had to defend against the best of the best during his time in the NFL? All right, J-Mac, take us through your favorites and what you see in each of these guys.
I love that you said poor guy, because at this point, I couldn't cover any of the guys on this screen. Mel had Omar Cooper in that list. He was kind of my honorable mention. Love the way he is. Big-time playmaker, especially in clutch time. I'm going to start right here at number 5, KC Concepcion. When you talk about him, the reason he's on my 5, if I had to cover this guy, he is so electric, a twitchy type of athlete, can score from anywhere. He also can hurt you in the return game, which is such a huge thing. He's the type of guy, as soon as you see him hit the brakes, it's like, he's going all types of ways, and it is impossible to keep up with a player like that. So electric. Reminds me a little bit of the Jalen Waddle type of guy and Doug Baldwin for back in the day. All right, that is number 5 of pass catchers. Number 4, Kenyon Sadiq. You can see right there, when you see veins coming out of all of those muscles, me as a DB, I want no parts of that. This guy is a nightmare matchup because, of course, he's a tight end. He's going to be bigger. He's going to be stronger. But he is not supposed to be faster than me. I remember trying to cover Darren Waller, push off and take off, and I couldn't do anything about it. Delaney Walker, one of my old teammates, he reminds me so much of him. A guy that can catch the ball short and take off, and you can't catch up with him. Mekhi Lemon, number 3. This guy is as tough as it comes when you talk about the wide receiver position. Crafty. He is a guy that is savvy, knows how to get open in zone, sits it down at the right spots. He's also a quarterback's BFF. That is the best thing you can have. Someone that knows exactly how to get open and when to catch the ball. Reminds me a little bit of Hines Ward and Golden Tate from back in the day. That type of toughness and ability. All right, here we go.
Where are we going here?
This was tough for me. It comes between these two guys.
Sure.
I'm going with Carnell Tate
at
number 2. Sorry, at number 2.
Wow.
Yes, get Mekhi back in there. I have him too. Silky smooth route runner. It looks effortlessly when he's getting open and he's creating that separation against any type of DB. A long strider can get down the field, but also can dunk on you when the ball is there and come down with those 50-50 catches. He is an unbelievable player, productive, and had to be kind of the number 2 receiver while he's been in college. Reminds me a little bit of a T. Higgins type of guy when he goes up and gets the ball. All right, that leaves one more. That is Mr. Jordan
Obviously, right?
Tyson.
Right.
And yes,
but
I know the injury concerns and all of those things, but when you watch this guy, his ability to get open, his ability to stop on a dime and create that separation, but then the body control to go up and get the football, it is just unbelievable. You can get past some of those injury concerns with the belief that, hey, we're going to have the medical staff and all of those things necessary at that pro level. He is going to be an unbelievable addition for a team in the league. These are my 5 guys that I would have had a nightmare of trying to cover with Chase Daniel throwing him the football.
that is so well done. All right, Mina, I have to bring you in here, especially here, Tyson over Tate. What do you think?
I love it. I love it because you're going out on a limb there and going against the consensus. And I also love it because Jordan Tyson has something that is very rare, which is his movement abilities at his size are just not something you see. You talked about it, the suddenness. He's explosive with the ball in his hands. He's got great body control as well. I struggled coming up with a comp for him. He actually reminds me a little bit of a young Amari Cooper, that combination of the size, the route running, the movement, the suddenness. But Jason, you said it. If you could tell me and guarantee he is healthy, I might have him number 1 too. The injuries are just the only concern.
Chase?
Yeah, I mean, the Jordan Tyson one is polarizing a little bit because of the injuries, but if you do get him with a Patrick Mahomes and a Kansas City Chiefs, Andy Reid style offense, I mean, the sky's the limit. The other thing too is Mekhi Lemon, man. I'm telling you, like we talked about him, and I'm glad you said Golden Tate because that's exactly who I think he is. Just tough as a running back and a linebacker. I mean, can go and dig out safeties, is just really good. I think it's going to be really, really good. I know slot receivers usually don't make the first two guys, but I'm telling you, this guy's going to be special in the league.
Yeah, and I mean, to Mina's point, right, about Mahomes, like a lot of people have him going to Kansas City right there at number 9.
A ton of fun.
We will see. All right, this is also new on NFL Live. Browns GM Andrew Berry spoke today about the possibility of drafting another quarterback this year.
I think it's possible. I think it's possible that we could I mean, quite frankly, it's possible that we could add to any position. That's really the truth. And I wouldn't disqualify a quarterback either. If we add a quarterback, we have a lot of love for the quarterbacks that are in the room. That's probably the first thing. So, like, that decision would be made independently of anything that we add to the room.
Mel Kiper's latest mock has Cleveland trading with Dallas and ending up with 3 picks in the first round. Right now they have 2. Adding offensive tackle Caden Proctor from Alabama, Washington wideout Denzel Boston, and cornerback Jermod McCoy out of Tennessee. That would be quite the haul. Adam, can you kind of translate what Andrew Berry was saying there and what their plans are at quarterback, please?
I think he's leaving open his options. And I think there's a feeling around the league that it would not be a surprise if the Browns used one of their mid-round picks on a quarterback that they happen to like in this particular draft. Right now, obviously, we have Deshaun Watson, Shedeur Sanders, and Dylan Gabriel vying for the starting quarterback job. Nobody has that job locked up right now. And if there is a certain quarterback that provides a certain value to the Browns, what Andrew Berry is saying is that Cleveland won't hesitate to draft another one. Quarterbacks in this league are currency. The Browns feel like they have some now. They're interested in adding more, and it won't be surprising if they wind up drafting another one somewhere in the middle rounds.
Dang, that would be an awfully young room there, Chase. All right, given all the choices, right? We got Sanders and Gabriel, Deshaun Watson's coming back. Who fits Todd Monken's system the best of the guys they have now?
Well, yeah, that's a really interesting question because all 3 of them could, but I'm going to go ahead and say Shedeur Sanders. And the thing about Shedeur Sanders to me that really sticks out, one, he's young. He fits his offense better because he's able to get out onto the move. We've seen what Deshaun Watson can do, right? When healthy, the last really great season he had was 2020. With Shedeur, though, you're building it from the ground up, meaning you have to go out there in the classroom and you have to learn the offense from day one. There's no questions asked whatsoever. And Todd Monken, as an offensive mind, he's really multiple in sets. He likes a lot of 3, 4 wide receivers. He's really fast paced. He knows how to create mismatches. And the cupboard's not bare there whatsoever. You have Fannin, Judkins, and Jerry Jeudy, especially if they go and add a Boston guy in the first round as well. Shedeur's going to have a chance, or whoever's going to be playing is going to have a chance to show what they have. And with a new head coach and with a quarterback-friendly offense, coming over from Lamar Jackson, I just think that Shedeur Sanders at this point in time is probably giving them the best chance to win. And I actually love what Todd Monken said, about quarterback reps won't be divided equally in the offseason. And I think that's exactly what you should do, because when you have your starter, he needs all the reps in this really wordy system.
I mean, Mina, let's go big picture here, because also if you listen to Barry, you might just think what he's really saying is we're open for business here, right? And that's what Mel has in his mock. I mean, these guys have 3 picks in the first 39. What do you think they should do?
I think that the worst kept secret in the draft is that the Browns are going to get an offensive tackle and a receiver. Adding a quarterback here is a fun twist, particularly a corner I love in McCoy. But the question I have really is just, are they going to go receiver first or tackle first? We've been talking all show long about Carnell Tate. He, to me, would make a ton of sense at 6, but only if you're the Browns, if you like him that much more than the next tier of receivers and you're comfortable waiting to get a tackle. If somebody like a Francis Mauigoa were to drop, or you're passionate about Fano or Spencer Fano or Monroe Freeling, I could see the order flipping, because the wide receiver depth, as J-Mac just talked about, is nice as well. I actually think this draft is breaking beautifully for the Browns, because those two needs, receiver and offensive tackle, align really well with where they're picking, regardless of which order they go in.
Yeah, I mean, they're replacing their entire offensive line this offseason. Kind of bring us home on all of these Browns questions, please.
Well, Mina says one of the worst kept secrets is the Browns' desire to add a wide receiver and an offensive tackle. And I think one of the other least kept secrets is that the Browns also are interested in moving back. So it's possible they can move back, accumulate more picks, get their wide receiver, their offensive tackle in whatever order it is, and get more help. I believe they have 9 picks going into this draft. I think they're in the market to add more this upcoming week. And if they can jockey around and manipulate the draft, General Manager Andrew Berry will be very happy to do that.
Yeah, again, they have 2 in the first round, and then they pick again at pick 39. So lots of options there. All right, Jalen and Spytek spoke this week at their pre-draft presser. It was asked about teams calling for that first pick.
We've gotten a few calls, and those teams know where they stand right now. If there's a player that stands out that we feel it's not worth losing, it's not worth even picking up the phone, then we'll just make the pick. But if it's a player that we're not as excited about, or there's a group of players that we would love to pick from, and we can get value for that, then we're certainly open to listening to that.
Wait, Adam, are they actually listening to offers, or are they all in on Mendoza?
Hannah, we could put it on the bottom line right now. The Las Vegas Raiders, with the #1 pick, are expected to select Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza. We don't have to waste any time going over this. We can get right to #2 in the New York Jets. We could cut out some of the drama right away and avoid it. Fernando Mendoza is expected to go #1 to the Raiders, no matter how many phone calls John Spytek gets between now and the draft next week.
I just love hearing from this GMs the week before the draft, isn't it? It's just priceless. All right. In case you missed it, Ravens GM Eric DeCosta gave some insight on how aggressive they will be targeting the tight end position next week.
You got some guys that are going to go high, but then as you get into the 4th, 5th, and 6th round, we see guys that do something well. And I think when you get into those rounds, that's what you're looking for. They're going to have holes. All these guys, when we get down there, are going to have some type of hole, but what can they do well? But I think there's a strong chance that we'll add a couple more throughout.
Mina, this is a really deep draft for tight end. Should they be going all in on a tight end early?
No, I don't think so. The opportunity cost there for me would be the player you see there, Venga Ioane, who I just feel like is such a plug-and-play starter and need and the interior of the offensive line. And I think the Ravens do need a tight end, right? You lost Isaiah Likely, but another player that they lost was Charlie Kolar, and actually that's the sort of tight end I might consider targeting later. Sam Roush, to me, out of Stanford, former rugby player, one of the best blocking tight ends I've watched in recent memory, and I think you can grab him later in the draft. To me, he would fit that hole, help the run game as well, occasionally leak out, catch a few passes. So I think that they can get value at the tight end position later in the draft, focus on the offensive line early.
Yeah, some of the greatest tight ends of our day have come later in the draft. All right, in case you missed it, Howie Roseman was asked about the recent reporting on Jalen Hurts and where things stand with the team.
I would say that we have some faults. One of them is not being direct and honest with our players and the conversations with our players. So for us, if we have any issue with any of our players, we talk to them directly. You know, from my perspective, we're not hiding behind anything. You know, we will talk to our players directly. I think that it's unfair to have these articles written, but I understand it's also what sells at this point. So.
Chase, he said they're not direct and they are direct. I don't know. What do you make of what he said?
Well, they need to put him under center more. That's what I can make of what he said. And for me, it's going to be a huge litmus test this year for Jalen Hurts. With new offensive coordinator Sean Mannion, who's a LaFleur and a McVay disciple, you're going to see Hurts a lot more under center, a lot more shifts, a lot more motions. It's going to be different than any offense he's ever had. And so when I say litmus test, I'm not saying they're going to go out and draft a replacement this year or next year, but we just have to see him make plays when plays are there. We know what he is. He's a legitimate quarterback, but you got to go out there and you got to make the easy plays. Do so under center. Show me you can run a pro-style offense, and we'll see what happens.
I mean, has there ever been a Super Bowl winning quarterback who's engendered this